Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the regular meeting of the City of Bayonne Planning Board for the month of February. Can I have a roll call, please?
Yes, Madam Chair. Chairperson Fiamonte,
Here.
Commissioner Veloz,
Here.
Commissioner Booker,
Here.
Commissioner Locke, Commissioner Rhodes,
Here.
Commissioner Scheibel,
Here.
Vice Chairman Velardo, and Commissioner Lubach are absent. We have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. All rise for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, next on the agenda, we have the statement with regard to the Open Public Meetings Act, Sunshine Law. This regular meeting of the City of Bayonne Planning Board has complied with the Open Public Meetings Act, Sunshine Law. Annual notices of the schedule of regular meetings were published in both the Jersey Journal and Star Ledger newspaper. The schedule of regular meetings for the calendar year 2026 is filed with the City Clerk's office. A copy of the agenda of tonight's meeting is posted on the bulletin board in the lobby of the municipal building and on the City of Bayonne website. Next on the agenda, we have the adoption minutes. Do we have them ready for this month, or? Okay, not a problem. So then we'll move to communications.
Yes, Madam Chair. First on the agenda with regard to communications is a letter from Glenn Keynes, Esquire. We received it on December 19, 2025, requesting an extension for P23-027 Gamal Group, Corp. Site Avenue A at Gertrude Street, Block 361, Lot 12, and Block 362, Lot 3. And they're asking for an extension of time to move that application through May 17th, 2027. Is that 2027 or 2026?
I believe the letter was 27.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll need a motion to approve.
A motion and a second to approve to extend the time.
I'll move.
Second.
And on the vote, please.
On the vote, Chairperson Fiamonte,
Aye.
Commissioner Veloz.
Aye.
Commissioner Booker.
Aye.
Commissioner Locke. Commissioner Rhodes. Commissioner Scheibel.
Aye.
Next on the agenda is number 2 is the letter from Mr. Reichel and Suzanne Mack dated January 13, 2026 for a continuation of the interim use number 2 on at block 751, lots 1.06, 1.07, 1.10, and portions of the map right-of-way for that site. This is a temporary use for the UPS truck parking facility. We do not need to take any action. However, if the board has any questions, Mr. Reichel and Ms. Mack are here to answer them.
Okay. Commissioners, any questions? Okay, seeing none, noted for the record.
Next on the agenda is number 3, letter from Mr. Reichel and Suzanne Mack, dated January 13, 2026, for interim use. Number 4 on block 751, lots 1.11, 1.15, and 1.16, and that's for the cruise terminals parking. Same as the last one. If no questions of Mr. Reichel and Ms. Mack, we can move on to the next item.
Commissioners, any questions? Sure.
Just because we've had new members come on since this process started. In the redevelopment plans for MOPI, the Military Ocean Terminal, Peninsula Bayonne Harbor, there is a section on interim use which says that someone can apply to your board by providing certain documentation, and then it has to be an affirmative letter from the city planner and the city engineer for the project, and that's how it's worked. We've had several over the years, not any recently, so I just wanted to tell the new members. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mack. Then, with no questions, we'll note this for the record.
Noted for the record. Item number 4, Municipal Council Resolution authorizing and directing the Planning Board to prepare a redevelopment plan for property located at 9, 10, and 16 East 50th Street and 1022, 1026, 1028, and 1030 Broadway in City Block 54, lots 1, 21, 22.01, 22.02, 23, 24, 25, and 26 pursuant to the local redevelopment and housing law, otherwise known as the former Bella Sorella Restaurant. We'll accept this and no further action on the part of the board at the present time.
Okay, thank you.
Next is number 5, Municipal Council Resolution authorizing and directing the Planning Board to prepare a redevelopment plan for property located at 190 West 63rd Street in City Block 2, Lot 1, pursuant to the local redevelopment and housing law, and that's Hudson Plaza Motel. Same as the above one, no action on the part of the board at the present time.
Thank you.
Next is Municipal Council Resolution authorizing and directing the Planning Board to prepare a redevelopment plan for property located at 973-993 Avenue C and 80 West 47th Street in City Block 76, Lots 17.01 and 17.02, pursuant to the local redevelopment and housing law. And that is the St. Vincent's redevelopment plan being authorized. We did the study at the last meeting. No further action on the part of the board presently.
Thank you.
Lastly is a walk-on item that we received from PSE&G, and we just want it noted by the planning board that this is something that PSE&G wants all planning boards and municipalities aware of, that there's an application for statewide utility blanket flood area, individual permits, freshwater wetlands, general permits, waterfront development, individual permits, and coastal wetlands, individual permits, and coastal zone management, general permits, and water quality certificates. This is that PSE&G is forwarding this out for boards to be made aware of their involvement, and they want them aware that PSE&G is in conformance with these laws.
Okay, thank you. And no further communications, so I believe we are not
We're going to,
skipping 6.
we're not going to do the reorganization this evening because we're still waiting for the contracts to be approved with regard to the appointment of professionals, and we'll do them all at the same meeting.
Okay, not a problem. So we'll move to item 7, the public hearing.
Item number 7, P-25-035, presentation of a non-condemnation redevelopment plan for property located at 1191-1205 JF Kennedy Boulevard in City Block 32, lots 10, 11, 12, 13.01, and 15, to develop a map reflecting the boundaries of the proposed non-condemnation redevelopment area and to determine whether said property constitutes a non-condemnation area in need of redevelopment pursuant to the local redevelopment and housing law. This is known as the former Luke Oil Station.
Good evening, Mr. Van Utzen.
Good evening. How are you?
Good, thanks. How are you?
All right. Well, let's get right to it. This is the, I've just got a PowerPoint slideshow. As council said, this is the former Luke Oil site, which actually had 2 other parcels added to it. So now it's basically going from avenue to avenue. Block 32, lots 10 and 12, 1301 and 15. There we go. There's the aerial. And as you can see, the Luke Oil site was actually, the original study was 10, 11, and 12, and 1301 and 15 were added to it. Come on. Oh. Okay. So here's the background. It's on pages 3 to 5. This redevelopment plan is only for Block 32, lots 10 and 12, 1301 and 15. It was designated an area in need of redevelopment by council. Actually, 3 lots were in one finding, and then we had the 2 extra lots, 1301 and 15, added to it. The planning board authorized, the council authorized the planning board to prepare a redevelopment plan, which we had. We actually had it last month. We're back again. So it contains vacant lots and 2 detached homes. And basically, I'm going to skip over most of these redevelopment plan elements and just concentrate on the major one, which is why we're here. It's on page 6. All provisions of the redevelopment plan shall either be substantially consistent with the municipal master plan or designed to effectuate the master plan. So basically, the relationship to other plans, which is later on in the plan, it deals with the Bayonne Master Plan re-exam report, talking about encouraging higher density housing within a quarter mile of each of the stations. There is some notes here about there has been additional studies that say how behavior is that typical transit riders will walk up to a quarter mile to a bus stop and a half a mile to the train station. It is located on JFK Boulevard, which does have buses. I would say that later on, there is a provision in here if there is 3 different development scenarios. If they go with the higher density scenario, there is an obligation to provide a shuttle bus to the train stations. Then basically, we have contiguous municipalities. There is none. Hudson County's master plan and estate plan with that this plan is substantially consistent with it. Okay, redevelopment goals. It's really to just listing various ones. This is very similar to most of our other plans, talking about revitalization of vacant and underutilized sites with viable land uses. I think that, that is typical of the Luke Oil site. So let me just continue on. Okay, use regulations. It's on page 13 and 14. We'll go over this. Multifamily dwellings, which is studio, 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom. We've got the retail and commercial uses. Mixed-use building, a combination of any of the preceding uses. Accessory uses, we have leasing offices for 1, outdoor terraces, fences, signs, parking, recreational facilities. Let me continue on. Bicycle storage, and any use that is customary and incidental to any principal use herein. Prohibited uses or any use that is not expressly permitted is prohibited. I know this was a discussion last month about the commercial aspects of it. I probably have some ideas how to address that as we go along. Bulk regulations, minimum lot area is going to be the square feet or the minimum square footage as identified in a site plan application. There's going to be a more flexible development scenario. It may not include all the lots, so that's why that particular clause is in there. The lot frontage is 100 feet, which is really the length of the side streets, so it would meet a minimum. Impervious coverage is 95%, but you can increase for green roof alternatives. So now let's go to the maximum building height, which is there's alternative development scenarios, which would be 6 stories, 8 stories, or 9 stories. And the 9 stories would have to be pursuant to an agreement that the redeveloper will provide a shuttle between the redevelopment area and the nearest station. So that would have to, that would have to occur under the 9-story scenario. I'm going to go, let's continue on. Building setbacks, and okay, residential unit counts, I just want to say 130 dwelling units is the max. And studios, I'll just to stress this, the minimum, the studios would be a 500 square foot minimum. Someone hacked my presentation. Parking regulations, off-street parking is permitted and is required as surface parking or structured parking. I think one of the provisions that has been discussed previously is, for other parking, and this is the same here, no residents in a multifamily development shall be eligible for the city's on-street parking residential permit parking program. So there will be no cars from this facility for residents going off to the streets. Traffic signals, you'll have that preemption that is always required and customary in all of these plans for your emergency services. There are discussions about parking regulations, curb cuts on pages 15 to 17. Not going to go too much into detail on it unless anyone wishes to ask, but it's very similar. So other regulations we have on pages 17 to 25, which are design regulations, basically. dealing with buildings, streetscape, lobby and lounge, lighting, trash and recycling, open space, green roof features, fences, walls, signs, landscaping and utilities and mechanical equipment. So now I get to go to the pretty pictures where we've got just, if there's any, these are samples. If there's streetscape, landscaping and such. Again, beautification of the surrounding area. Other regulations and design standards, I kind of had, these are kind of important. Environmental remediation. The designated redeveloper of the area shall be responsible for any and all environmental regulations. I think that's highly appropriate in this particular location, just to emphasize that. It's a former gas station. The regulation shall supersede, the effect of the plan will supersede the existing zoning, unless otherwise noted. Affordable housing obligations will be established in an agreement between the city and the designated redeveloper. And there is a phasing plan provision in this redevelopment plan. So the designated redeveloper shall provide a phasing plan for the project. All components of the phasing plan shall be reviewed and approved by the planning board. And that is it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioners, any questions for Mr. Reinertsen? Okay, seeing no questions from commissioners. Anything down the end, Mr. Reichel, Ms. Mack? Sure.
I'm a little, just to clarify for me, so you presented this last month, didn't you? And now you're back to do the consistency hearing, is that it?
No, it did not get heard last month because this particular redevelopment plan did not have a quorum.
Didn't have what?
Didn't have a quorum.
Oh, that
Yeah,
answers
so
that
that,
question.
you got my return appearance just for tonight.
Thank
for
you, though.
this.
Thank you for coming. Always nice to see you. The only other thing is there's no commercial, there's no concierge service on the ground floor or anything?
No, there is, and I should say that, I did mention, I know this issue came up last month. And didn't we really come up with a
No, that's,
Yeah.
the use is fine. What I wanted to, I just
it's
wanted to.
ground floor only?
No, I wanted to just clarify for the board
Yeah.
that any commercial use is not handled by the redevelopment agreement, the RDA. It's handled by state law.
Mm-hmm.
And your reports normally just say that it's subject to state law and cannot be waived. So I would appreciate it if you put that in, because I'm doing my affordable housing plan for this weekend, certifying the city, and that's that's the language that Mr. Wicasala, I don't know which attorney worked on this, but that any non-residential fee is mandated by state law, and it's not subject to the redevelopment agreement, which everything else is. So,
Non-res
like that
fees
clarified.
governed by state law.
Yes.
Okay.
There's standard language in the plans. Many of them are CMEs, so if you just add that to that, I'm just suggesting they add that, as we know that that's what we have to do.
I have no objection to that
Well,
suggestion, as
Okay.
always.
Thank you.
There are a couple of it, I'll discuss them with you.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
thank you. Mr. Slav?
Don't have any comments?
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Are there any members of the public that wish to ask Mr. Reinertsen a question regarding his testimony? Okay, anyone in the audience that wish to make a comment regarding Mr. Reinertsen's testimony? Okay, seeing none. Mr. Reinertsen, I don't know if you had anything else to add, otherwise we'll move to,
I just want to thank you once again for having me.
okay, thank you. Commissioners, anyone wish to make a comment before we move to a vote? Okay, at this point, I will make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
And on the vote?
Chairperson Fiamonte,
Aye.
Commissioner Veloz.
Aye.
Commissioner Booker.
Aye.
Commissioner Rhodes.
Aye.
Commissioner Scheibel.
Aye.
Let the record reflect that Commissioner Locke recused himself in this matter.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Reinertsen. We're at public hearing number 8.
Number 8, P-23-025, presentation of an amendment to the redevelopment plan for property located at 1012, 1022 Avenue C in City Block 64, lots 2 and 3, as shown on the official tax map of the city of Bayonne, otherwise known as the former synagogue.
Okay. Good evening, Mr. Slaw. You've changed locations.
Yes, thank you very much, Madam Chair. So this is an amendment to a previously reviewed redevelopment plan from December of 2024. It was discovered that there was an error in the redevelopment plan, which is my fault. And it stems from when we were thinking about having the bagel shop also included in the redevelopment plan area. And it has to do with frontage on West 49th Street. So if we could turn to, in the presentation, if we could turn to page, I think it's 6, the one that has area and yard requirements number 1. I believe it's after minimum unit dwelling size. Yeah, keep scrolling. No, the other way. Be fine. Maybe area and yard requirements. I think it's after this. Here we go. Thank you. So in this, you'll see minimum lot frontage in the presentation indicates entire redevelopment area. Minimum lot frontage West 49th Street as 34 feet. But in the actual plan has, I think it's 67 feet. It should be 34 because the frontage of the property is a little over 34 feet. And we want it to be equivalent to that. There isn't any ability to gain additional frontage. So as it's written, it requires a variance, which was not the intent. And if we perhaps go back the other way now, sorry, Alicia, to where we have the overview of the map. Yeah, if you stop there, just back up a little. You see that there's just a little finger of the property that has frontage on West 49th Street, and that's the street that's in the upper right-hand corner of the picture. And the intent is that the lot frontage match up with what that is. And so that's the only change to the plan that would be considered by the City Council with this amendment. And that's really just to match up existing conditions, have the plan match up with the existing conditions on the site. As you can see, some consideration was given to the property up on the corner, which is the bagel shop. But ultimately, we're going to have this plan stand on its own. And the plan is designed if at some point in the future, the bagel shop owner is interested in redeveloping his property, that they'll be able to do so because they'll be able to join his property and this property together at some point in the future. So that's all that is envisioned with this particular change. And it is consistent with the goals and objectives of the plan, as well as the general goals and objectives of the city's 2000 master plan for having more intensive development along the avenues, which is what's represented by the plan, which is for essentially a 6-story multiple dwelling building on this property.
Thank you, Mr. Slaw. Commissioners, any questions? Okay. Mr. Reichel, Ms. Mack, anything? Okay. Are there any members of the public that have a question? Sure. Mr. Slaw, if you wouldn't mind taking the other microphone.
Hi, my name is Mike O'Connor. I've spoken, actually, just the other day at a community meeting about this site and this the redevelopment plan. I actually just had an opportunity to read. I didn't know this meeting was occurring until about an hour ago, because I know you had previously approved a redevelopment plan. So I guess questions for you, Mr. Slaw. You mentioned that this is just a minor revision based on issues with having previously looked at the bagel store. Is that correct?
So when we were analyzing whether to include the bagel store within the redevelopment plan, it was determined that the bagel shop owner, not interested at this time in moving forward with a redevelopment plan for his site, focusing solely on the synagogue site at this time.
Understood. So the bagel store is on the corner of, everybody knows this property, right? It's on the corner of 49th Street and Avenue C. So when I went and looked at Mr. Slaw's memo, and which was online, I noted that in fact, and I looked at the redevelopment plan, I noted that in fact the error is not on the frontage on 49th Street. What your memo said, but you didn't say in your testimony, was that in fact you're asking the board here and the city council to change the frontage on 48th Street.
Well, I think that's West 49th Street, is that not?
No, it's not. No, but that's, I mean, I read the plan. The plan calls for, right now, the plan calls for 63 feet of frontage on 48th Street.
Yes.
Right. Correct. Is that-
And I believe that's correct,
Okay,
right? I mean, because just looking at it,
right.
the line on 48th is longer than the line on 49th, correct?
But your memo states that you're seeking to change the 63 feet on 48th Street.
Oh, yeah. Mhm. Okay, thank you.
Your memo says that you're seeking to change the frontage required on 48th Street from the current 63 feet to 38 feet, not the frontage on 49th Street. That's what your memo says.
Yes, that's a good point.
And that's what the plan calls for. So I guess this isn't my time for comment, but generally, I can tell you.
Your time for comment would be right after we conclude with him,
All
if
right,
you'd
so-
like to
so
make.
Let's go through this. So when you did you do, I see your name is not just on this memo, but you, along with other planners, signed the redevelopment plan.
That is correct.
So when you were doing the redevelopment plan, did you talk to the owner of the property and the representatives of the owner of the property?
Of the synagogue site?
Yeah.
Yes.
Did you talk to the owners of the immediately adjacent property? That's the 16-unit Franklin Condominium Association property, which has the most frontage on this site?
No.
No, okay. And I note in the plan that along with in section D, with the area yard and height coverage requirements, which you seek to change tonight, amend, I'm looking back now at the rear yard setback. That rear yard setback is 0, is that correct?
Yes.
So that means that this property owner, this developer, can build as of right, according to your plan, right up to the property line.
Well, the first level can be, but then it steps back.
Okay, so the first level, though, according to, I think it's, I'm looking at, I guess this is the same section 5.7, but now I'm looking at section E. So if the ground floor is used for mechanical parking, the ground floor may have a maximum height of 20 feet from floor to ceiling. So that means that the first floor,
Yes.
if it's a parking structure, can have a parking structure, including a wall, that would be right on the property line of the adjacent property.
That's
Is that
correct.
And that wall could be up to 20 feet high.
Yes, that's
And
correct.
that could be for the length of that property, which is by far the most frontage of any of the property lines. Is that correct?
Yes, adjacent to the parking lot for the condominium.
Right. No, that's correct, but adjacent to that property.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so there's no setback whatsoever.
There's no change being made to the plan suggested for this evening.
No, I understand. Listen, I'm
Yeah.
familiar that you are seeking to make a change to the plan. I'd submit to you that the change that you testified to isn't the change that you said you wanted to make in your memo, nor is it the
Yeah.
change that the developer is seeking in order to build a building here. Nor that the result of that, of the issue with the bagel store is the reason why this is in the plan. Doesn't make any sense as a rationale for a mistake when it's on the 48th Street corner that you're seeking the reduction, and the 49th Street corner is the one that has the bagel store. Okay. You know what? I don't think I have anything else to say, other than the fact that when I looked at this plan, and this is a comment, you can strike it.
We
When I
have,
looked at this
you wanna
plan,
just-
this is not the only
sir,
state
sir, we
plan.
have a procedure for comments. We're going to need to swear you in if you're going to make a comment. Okay. Let's just check if there are any other members of the public that have a question first before we proceed to that. Okay. At this point, this is when we move to public comment because we do have to get anybody from the audience sworn in before any comments are put on the record. So, sir, if you do wish to make a comment, now we'll get you sworn in.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Michael O'Connor? I do. O''Connor.
Thank you.
Thanks. So a couple of things. One, I think that, and I'm sure Mr. Slaw's a very experienced and you know, top-notch professional. The memo and what was stated here, I don't think is correct. I don't think that's what is intended. I don't even think that's what the board and the city council is ultimately going to be asked to do. Because right now, because of the way the plan is written, it's not possible to build the building on this site because of the frontage. What I will point out to you all is that this entire plan, and I know that it was adopted, but it's flawed. The plan as it is now is flawed. Part of the flaw in that, though, is not just the mistake or mistakes, because I didn't get a chance to read this all carefully and determine that. I think it's an ill-conceived plan. It does not take into consideration its neighbors. I don't believe that anyone from the Franklin Condominium Association, which is a 16-unit condominium association, each of those members pays property taxes. They don't have a property tax pilot or break like the developer of this site got at the city council, I think at the last meeting, right? And I think consideration should be given by the planning board, and consideration certainly, and I know there's a member of the city council on the board here, and I'd ask that the city council not consider any amendment to this plan, and that the board not consider any amendment to this plan until there's a meeting with the members of the Franklin Condominium Association to discuss their real concerns and issues, not just about this plan itself, but about the conduct of what's gone on since this developer has acquired the property. And there are issues, all right? I don't think I've been to a planning board meeting in 15, 18 years, maybe. And I didn't come to a community board meeting lightly the other day, and I didn't come here lightly. This is important. There's a lot of development that goes on in this town. I think some people feel that, you know, things aren't done carefully or considered well. I'm not of that opinion. In this case, I am. And I'd ask you, and let me tell you exactly why I'm here. My partner, Virginia Kemp, is a longtime owner of a condominium at 53 West 48th Street. Ginger and her fellow owners deserve better than what they got in this plan. They deserve better than the lack of attention from this property owner and the property owner's representatives when they were reached out to about what's gone on at this property. And they deserve better, I think, from the city council going forward to make a statement that, in fact, we're going to look at this and deal with these issues before anything else is done to benefit this developer. So that's what I'd ask you to do tonight. I think I'd ask you to make a recommendation, in fact, to the city council to put aside or adjourn any action on this redevelopment plan, including on the ordinance, until something can be done. And that's what I'm asking for you to do tonight.
Okay, thank you, Mr. O'Connor. Are there any other members of the public that wish to make a statement?
Yes, my name is Michael Maselli. I'm the attorney for the current property owner, who was not the property owner when this went through the redevelopment process. I believe Mr. Slouss told you what we're here to consider. The planning board has approved this redevelopment plan. It was a typographical error in a transposition from a plan. That's what we're here to talk about. Not here to talk about other activities on the site, demo, whatever it was. That's not what we're here for tonight. There's a forum for that. It is not here. It is not for this issue. This is a master plan consistency review. And the board has once found that this was consistent. This is to correct a typo. I can't see how the board could reach a different conclusion because we're correcting a typo. So what I'd ask the board to stick to its original conclusion, which was that this was consistent with the master plan, and that they recommend that we fix this typographical error to the council so that the project can proceed without having to ask for variance, because we can ask for a variance, but that's really not what the purpose of redevelopment plan. The redevelopment plan is supposed to eliminate barriers that exist to zoning, right, to make it harder to get the approval that you're looking for. So this was just a mistake, and we're trying to fix the mistake. It's not to undo the whole thing and rip it all up and say, no, we got to go back to the beginning and start again. It's to fix a mistake. And that's all that the property owner is asking for. And we urge you to vote that this is consistent, like you did before, and let the city council take its action next. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Maselli.
It's unusual, Mr. O'Connor. If you're going to keep it brief, we'll let you.
I absolutely will. So, I heard what counsel for the developer said, and let me frame it in a different way. First of all, I think you all have discretion under the local land use law. Certainly, the council has discretion, city council has discretion. Let me just point out that the memo that you're relying on, or at least that the public relied on, to determine, whether they should come to this meeting or not, which I read, the memo from Mr. Slaw is not correct. It has the same error or a similar error as the presentation that was made before by Mr. Slaw. He spoke about the change on 49th Street and the change in the frontage on 49th Street, right? That's not what you're being asked to do. You're being asked to change the frontage on 48th Street, all right? So there's inconsistent testimony, there's an inconsistent memo, right? I'd urge you, for the record, to adjourn this, have your planners go back, review this plan, and figure out exactly what it is that you're being asked to do, and then come back in a month or two and get on the record and do it right, if you're going to do it. You have my statement before about what I think you should do. But I think the record's inconsistent. I pointed out a mistake. I pointed out a mistake about a testimony about a mistake.
Mr.
So
O'Connor,
thank-
we got your original point. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Seeing no other members of the public that wish to come up, Mr. Slaw, it sounds as though we need to hear from you.
So the fact of the matter is that if you had 34 feet of frontage on either one of those streets, 48th or 49th, the plan could go forward. The frontage of it doesn't change the existing conditions upon which a plan can be developed. So the fact that it's 49th or 48th is actually immaterial. But if you have it consistent and you have it both frontages at 34th, then in fact, it would meet, this tract would then meet whatever requirement was for the lot. So regardless, the change would allow for the development to take place without variances.
Okay. So we have heard everyone's testimony. We've heard from the public. We've heard from Mr. Maselli as well. Commissioners, I will defer. Just a reminder, we are voting on an amendment, and I'll let
And
Mr. Campusano.
we're only voting for it in terms of consistency with the master plan.
Correct. So the previous plan and anything that was in it was already approved. This is a vote for the change and its consistency, correct?
With the master
With the
plan,
master
yes.
plan, thank you. Okay. So commissioners, does anyone wish to make a comment? Otherwise, we'll move to the vote.
Okay, Mr. Slaw, thank you for that presentation. After listening to you, my vote will consist of the fact that I rely on my city professionals. Okay, we've already voted on this, we've already approved this. Okay, so if we're looking at a typographical error, okay, I believe that's what we're here for. So my vote will consist of the fact that I'm relying on my city professionals as I've done in the past, and I think that they would be spot on.
Okay, thank you. Any other commissioners? All right, hearing no other commissioners, I will make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
And on the vote, please.
Chairperson Fiamonte.
Aye.
Commissioner Veloz.
Aye.
Commissioner Booker.
Aye.
Commissioner Locke.
Aye.
Commissioner Rhodes. Commissioner Scheibel.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Slaw, I think you are up next again.
Yes, on the barren roofing, area in need of non-condemnation redevelopment.
Let me put it on the record and give one of our commissioners a chance to recuse themselves. P25-017, presentation of a non-condemnation area in need of redevelopment study for property located at 104-108 West 7th Street in City Block 314, Lot 44.01, to develop a map reflecting the boundaries of the proposed non-condemnation redevelopment area and to determine whether said property constitutes a non-condemnation area in need of redevelopment. It's also known as the barren roofing site, and Commissioner Scheibel has recused herself in this matter.
Okay, Mr. Slaw, we're ready whenever you are.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So this collaborative study with Ms. Mack, Barron and Son Roofings, this is in the Bergen Point neighborhood. It's an interesting area, and if perhaps we could go through to the next slide, please. And if we would stop on this slide here. This is a picture taken from the street indicating the property where we have essentially a commercial garage that occupies a substantial portion of the lot, virtually all of it except for the one residence there, a 2.5-story residence that's on the property, so it's a mixed-use development. A portion of this property is in the UEZ district, which has some special properties in terms of meeting area in need of redevelopment designation purposes. And the point of preparing a study, as you know, is to effectuate the goals of the city in creating new opportunities for new uses in areas. The Bergen Point neighborhood historically has been a mixed-use area. In fact, those still pertain. For those of you who have the entire preliminary investigation, you'll note that in that there is a Sanborn map from 1912, which shows that right next to this property was the Crane Motor Corporation. And the Crane Motor Corporation was a pioneer in automotive engineering. It's founded in 1906, received many patents, and the Crane Motor Company was immediately adjacent to the subject property and have been there for several years, and eventually were instrumental and were purchased by Curtis Wright brothers. So they have some interesting history when Bayonne was a manufacturing, much more of a manufacturing center than it is today. Across the street, we have the candle maker distributor, religious candles across the street. And then, of course, it used to be where Route 440 is today, the massive central New York rail yards. And that enabled 440 to be constructed because those rail yards were taken up and had the land area in which to do that. That mixed use still occurs today, But the area has been zoned residentially for some time. So the use of the property is at variance, non-conforming in this section. So if we go to the next, you can see here the block in which it's located. The area in dark blue tint is the area that's in the urban enterprise zone area, and the lot itself is outlined in yellow. So half of the property is in the urban enterprise zone, and half of it is not. And that area that is in it is basically the commercial garage, most of the commercial garage that contains the roofing company's supplies and workshop. So we look at the study area, statutory requirements, what the criteria are, and then our findings and conclusions. Next slide, please. So it constitutes a little under a quarter of an acre, almost 100% building coverage. As I mentioned, it's aside from the roofing company, they also have their office there. And you can see at the front that the facade has been improved, but then if you look down to the side, you'll note that there are more deteriorating building elements that are taking place there. It's a one-story structure. It has a commercial garage door in the front and a man door. If we could go to the next slide, if you would, please, thank you. And here we have found that you can see that there's evidence of a lot of different type of buildings that were then tied together over the years, has different devising walls inside. It has a set of interior walls that prevent the efficient use of this property. Like, what did they say? Like Topsy, it just grew. And so we found that to have a deleterious land use because of its extensive impervious coverage, no stormwater management. Stormwater runs off from this property onto adjacent properties. And you can see in the context of other uses that there's a lot less impervious coverage within the block itself. So from this, it's an obsolete facility. More modern facilities would have better floor-to-height ceilings in which to store material that would be properly, have a proper environmental safeguards, which this property does not. So it has an inefficient and obsolete layout. So from that, we determined that criterion D applies to this property and to the point where it affects the public health, safety, and welfare. Next slide, please. Then a portion of it, as we indicated, is within the urban enterprise zone, and that means it does by itself have, it can be subject to certain redevelopment powers that you would have. And so portions of it meet criterion G in the statute. If we go to the next slide, if you would. Thank you. It's all in a smart growth area, as is the entire city. That merely provides a supportive element to the main criterion D as a smart growth area. Does it exhibit those characteristics? Well, I would say that it is in a walkable area. It provides a location where, if redeveloped, would provide additional types of housing that could be utilized in the area. Down the street, right off the corner into the upper left section, which is northwest of this property, we have the recently developed apartment building, formerly on top of the former Delta gas station property. And directly across the street is the aforementioned religious candle distributor. And so this property, if redeveloped towards that end, would fit in, one, with the zoning, provide these additional opportunities, and also be consistent with residential uses which are earmarked for this block by the zoning. So in our view, it meets the criteria for being declared an area in need of non-condemnation redevelopment. So if we go to the next slide, please. If there's any questions then, that is my testimony related to this particular application. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Slaw. Commissioners, any questions? Okay. Anything down the end, Mr. Reichel, Ms. Mack? Okay, thank you. Are there any members of the public that have a question for Mr. Reichel? For Mr. I'm repeating names. It's not
Whomever.
even 8 o'clock yet, and I'm starting to repeat things. For Mr. Slaw, please come forward. Okay. Are there any members of the public that wish to make a statement regarding this presentation? Okay, seeing none. Commissioners, any comments? All right, I think this is a pretty straightforward one. Thank you for that presentation, Mr. Slaw.
You're welcome.
I will make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
And on the vote, please?
Chairperson Fiamonte.
Aye.
Commissioner Veloz.
Aye.
Commissioner Booker.
Aye.
Commissioner Locke.
Aye.
Commissioner Rhodes. Commissioner Scheibel. She's recused herself. That's it.
Okay, thank you. So I think we are up to public hearing number 10.
Number 10. P25-036 South Cove Development 2 and South Cove Development 3 LLC. Site is Block 412, lots 1.01, 2.01, 2.021, 2.022, and 2.03. Applicant is seeking an amendment to a previous application, P18-014, for construction of a hotel and banquet facility where the proposed mixed-use building, now Building C, will constitute 98,209 square feet of hotel with 125 rooms and 19,639 square feet of banquet facility, a 9,520 square foot retail portion, and 9,472 square feet of restaurant space. Amendments are proposed for the design of the two residential towers, specifically the NCAP building, which will be reconfigured into two residential towers with 696 residential units in both buildings and 29 stories instead of 24, but still at the height of 300 square feet. And I believe the counsel for the applicant is Emily Weiner.
Okay, good evening.
Hi, good evening. I'm Emily Weiner from Weiner Law Group, appearing on behalf of the applicant, South Cove Development 2 LLC and South Cove Development 3 LLC. Subject property is located at 77 to 191 LaFonte Way. It's more commonly known as South Cove. It's located within the South Cove redevelopment area and is regulated by the South Cove redevelopment plan. The application before you tonight seeks subdivision approval to adjust some internal lot lines, amended preliminary and final site plan approval, and any other variances or relief as may come up in the course of the hearing. As you just heard, prior approval for this property was granted by this board in July of 2018 when you approved the general development plan, and then again in September 2018 for the preliminary and final site plan as proposed back then. The current application seeks to amend the site plan approval to improve the layout of the site as well as group like uses together. You'll hear much more of that from the professionals. Tonight we have 4 witnesses. We have our civil engineer, architect, traffic engineer, and planner. We do have a representative from the applicant in case any questions about operations or the specific project come up. However, he does not have any direct testimony for the evening. Before we get started, before we get to the witnesses, I just want to address a few small housekeeping matters just for the record. The application and all supporting documents and plans were submitted to the board secretary more than 10 days prior to the hearing as is required. The notice was published and mailed in accordance with municipal land use law requirements, and the affidavit of proof of publication has been submitted to the board secretary and attorney. And one small item on the notice that I just want to mention so it's in the record. The application was submitted and the notice indicate that there were no variances required for this application. However, the city's consultants in their reports indicate that a bulk variance is required for the proposed number of stories. I'm not getting into the substance of that. I'm not debating whether or not a variance is required. All I want to put on the record is that when the application was filed It was a conscious choice to not seek that variance based on the board's prior planning consultant, CME Associates, in relation to the 2018 applications, where they said in their report, quote, "Based on the fact that the height of the structure complies with the permitted 300 feet, the number of stories is interpreted to comply." So while I'm not arguing that that stands, and I understand different consultants will interpret it differently, and we are prepared to put on testimony, I just want to clarify that the notice is valid and the catch-all provision would cover this variance, as it wasn't an oversight and it wasn't something that was left out to be disingenuous by the applicant, and that's all.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. And with that, I can call our first witness.
Sure.
It's going to be our project civil engineer, Josh Stanger.
Okay, and Ms. Weiner?
Weiner.
If you wouldn't mind just taking this microphone over here, okay?
Yep.
There's also a question about the planning variance.
Which, I'm sorry?
Having a lot created not on a public street.
So, you can go ahead.
I'm not sure everything was coming through the microphone. They may not have heard.
I also raised the issue of the planning variance with the creation of a lot not on a public street.
And again, I think you'll hear testimony as to why that wasn't a variance that we deemed necessary. Obviously, the testimony will be put on. If you say it's necessary, we'll apply for it. But for purposes of notice, I just wanted the record to be clear that the catch-all provision would include anything that was raised by the board's professionals at this time.
Right. Well, you mentioned the one, but you didn't mention the other. That's why I wanted to bring it to your attention.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Okay, thank you. I think we're ready for our first witness. You'll-
I do. My name is Josh Stenger, Stenger. I am the project manager for this project.
Mr. Stanger, will you just tell us a little bit about your educational background, any professional licenses you hold?
Yes, I'm a licensed professional engineer in the state of New Jersey. I have a bachelor's degree in civil engineering from Rowan University, and I've been practicing civil engineering in the state of New Jersey for over 10 years.
And have you appeared before planning boards like this before?
I haven't appeared before this planning board, but I've been in attendance for this planning board where my firm has represented the applicant.
Great.
As long as all licenses are in good standing, we will accept Mr. Sanger as an expert witness, and welcome to Bayonne,
Thank you.
officially.
Thank you.
You're
Great.
welcome.
Then I'm going to just let you go through your plans and explain the project.
Okay, can we open exhibits A10, 12, and 13, please? With A10 being the one that I want shown currently. So we can start with this. I just wanted to go over the subject parcel and the existing conditions. The site is block 412, lots 1.01, 2.01, 2.021, 2.022, and 2.03 in Bayonne along LaFonte Way. The parcel is a 20.8 acre tract located along LaFonte Way in the New York Bay. The site is bound to the south by LaFonte Way, to the east by the Bayonne Golf Club, to the north by the New York Bay, and to the west by Route 440. The current use of the site is an existing shopping center with various retail tenants. In this proposed development, we're proposing the demolition of 2 buildings to facilitate a hotel with banquet facility and residential units. If you look at Exhibit A10, on center north of the plan, there's an existing Houlihan's and Weichert retail that's proposed for demolition to facilitate the construction of Building C, a proposed hotel with banquet facility and mixed use. It proposes 125 hotel rooms, which is less than what was approved by the General Development Plan, GDP Resolution P1813, and also conforms with the redevelopment plan from 2017. This is going to be done in phases. Building C would be the first phase of construction, followed by buildings B and A, which are residential apartment units. That proposes 696 units, which is also less intense than what was previously approved by the GDP, which was 832 units. Currently, the site has access off of Lafante Way with 4 curb cuts. We plan to utilize those existing curb cuts while upgrading the one with a boulevard consistent with the redevelopment plan and the approved GDP. The boulevard would be center of the site that leads towards the existing Houlihan's, which is where we have the proposed hotel. All proposed uses for the site are permitted per the redevelopment plan and the GDP. The proposed parking is facilitated with the garage structure that will be built with buildings B and A. In the developed site, there will be 1,427 proposed parking spaces, whereas 1,319 are required per the redevelopment plan. This parking requirement utilizes both shared parking credits and EV credits that will be discussed in later testimony by the traffic engineer. For landscaping and lighting, we will be proposing items that are consistent with the redevelopment plan and the GDP, and we believe we can comply with all of the engineer and planners' comments regarding the landscaping and lighting. Same goes for grading and stormwater management. We provided a stormwater memo with the submission that lays out that the stormwater proposed for this development are consistent with the approved GDP, and that we're not proposing any new outfalls into the bay. We're just utilizing the existing conveyance and providing some minor stormwater upgrades for that, but they're consistent with the GDP. Same goes with water and sewer, where we'll be complying with the agencies for design on that. If we can open up Exhibit A12, please. And Exhibit A12 really just lays out the differences between the approved general development plan and the proposed site plan. And what's essentially occurring here is that we're consolidating the uses in a more effective manner that makes sense. In the GDP, we had retail uses throughout the site. In this new proposal.
Sorry, I can't read that from here. Which, the GDP is on the left?
The GDP is on the left, I'm sorry. And then the proposed development is on the right. In the GDP, there's residential units spread throughout all of the dark gray buildings. And then in the proposed development, we're consolidating them to the northeast corner of the site.
Can I just offer a clarification there? Is that I think what we're looking at is the previously approved site plan is on the left, and the proposed amendment is on the right, right? So I just want to, your reference to the GDP to date really should have been, just for the board's edification.
Yeah.
We're talking about
Old
amending the
versus new.
site plan, not the GDP.
Yep. So in effect of what we're doing here is we're modifying the site plan to consolidate the uses, and the proposed uses are less intense than what was previously approved. And we believe we can comply with any of the professionals' comments. If we wanted to go over any of those comments, I'm fine with that.
Okay, I don't know if you were going over the comments together, or I'm not sure who you're waiting for.
Go.
Typically, we just let you do your entire presentation, and then we'll ask questions once you've concluded your testimony.
Okay, that's all I have then.
Okay, so if that's the conclusion of your testimony, if you wanted to go through your engineer's comments point by point, we can do that if you had
Well,
your own
first,
questions.
we'll just follow our procedure. First, we'll see if commissioners have any questions, then we'll move to our professionals. Okay?
Ms. Weiner, normally if you agree with our engineer's comments and put that on the record, that's satisfactory to us. So you don't have to go point by point.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions regarding this testimony?
Yes, I do have one. On the 696 residential units, do you have the percentage of the studio, one-bedroom, and two-bedrooms?
I believe our architect is going to testify to the unit makeup.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other commissioners? All right, Mr. Slaughter, you have any questions?
I do. Is there going to be testimony provided on the subdivision?
We can go over the subdivision if you'd like. It's small interior reconfigurations just to adjust for the new proposed buildings. And we'll be providing access to LaFonte Way via shared access easements.
And are those, I'm assuming they're shared access easements that exist today. Is that correct?
Correct.
And are there going to be amendments required of those access easements as they exist today or not?
Yes.
So condition of approval would have to be that those revised access easements will be subject to the review and approval in compliance review. Yeah, I do have that problem, I'm sorry.
No worries.
So what I'm saying is that revised easements will need to be submitted for review and approval during the compliance phase.
Yeah, we can agree to that.
Okay,
By board professionals or,
yeah, typically,
okay.
yeah.
So
Mr.
I-
Reichel will look at that.
Yeah, that's in my, one
That's
of
in
my
your report.
comments and as required as a resolution compliance matter.
So,
Easement, access easements to the satisfaction of the city attorney. You know, the form and agreement. We typically leave the review of those easements to the law department.
do you recall, Andy, whether there was testimony previously given about whether the access easement provides sufficient EMT and emergency access for fire and police emergency?
So the redevelopment plan actually took on this issue and recognized the fact that we would likely wind up with lots that did not have direct access and that satisfactory easements to allow emergency access and free movement among the properties was required. So I think we're covered by the redevelopment plan.
Yeah, I guess.
There's no prior subdivision, like we're working off of, there was no prior subdivision post, well, since we've been hearing this matter, the lots were already existing, so this is the first lot line adjustment we're making to reflect the GDP.
Yeah, so, well, it gets to be a legal issue, but my concern is that notwithstanding how the redevelopment plan is set up, I think under the municipal land use law, there has to be a finding by the board with these adjustments that it meets the criteria under section 36, that adequate access has been provided. So that I think is something the board should find if they believe that to be the case. That's why I think there's testimony that needs to be provided on that issue.
I would agree with you that we should hear some testimony and then we can agree or disagree that but provide the board with advice that the subdivision is sufficient to satisfy the emergency access requirements of the MLUL, right? Is that there's no fatal flaws in the layout of the.
Yeah, and I fully expect that to be the case, but we just can't do it on the fly.
Well,
Yeah.
in the limit, we could, and I'm sorry for the back and forth here, but in
No,
the limit,
It's
we
helpful
could,
to hear.
in the limit, we could require blanket access easements that are entirely, that would satisfy the requirement, right? If we don't define specific cartways, which I doubt we will, we could require blanket easements across the
Well,
property.
you've seen the existing ones, so I don't know what they constitute. So. I don't know if
We
they're
need, I think,
blanketed.
from the applicant is that the subdivision with appropriate easements would satisfy the MLUL requirements for a lot that does not have direct access to a right-of-way.
So what the property owner was just telling me is that the current subdivision, when it was recorded, has those access agreements recorded with it, and any change to that would be recorded by plat with any easements, whether it's a blanket easement, a cross easement, an access easement, an emergency access easement, as approved by the city attorney, and we would give it to the board attorney for his review as well, would be properly recorded, and emergency access to the entire parcel would, of course, be made available. That's in everybody's best interest.
Okay.
I'm satisfied with that testimony.
So it's
Okay.
a stipulation on your part.
And we're going to condition, if this is approved, upon them giving us satisfactory proof verifying what you're satisfied to today.
That's right. And the, we would require review of the modified easements as a condition of resolution compliance, upon which we would sign the plat and you would record it along with the easements.
Okay. Thank you. All right. I
Yeah,
understand.
I think that's satisfactory.
Okay, thank you. All right, so where were we? Ms. Mack, did you have anything you wish to add?
No, but I also agree with Brian. We just need to be more specific on that issue. Everyone on this board knows this site, and because it is so open, we know that we will have emergency access will be provided. We just need to record it.
Of course, yes. Thank you. Okay, any members of the public that have a question for
Sorry,
this
Madam Chair,
witness?
could
Whoops, I'm sorry.
finish my?
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Kind of got sidetracked by the subdivision.
No, that's, sure, go ahead.
I just want to kind of distill what the proposal is effectively, the board approved this plan in the past. And it's really the same plan with the exception of the hotel moved from
The corner.
building A to building C, so it's now at the Houlihan's.
And there's a deck.
The former hotel, the former two buildings that were residential and retail ground floor are now, I'm sorry, they were formerly residential hotel and ground floor retail, are just pure residential with ground floor retail and a podium with parking garage. So just kind of like shifting the pieces on the deck. And I think in my opinion, in a more efficient way, I like we spent a lot of time and gave the redeveloper a lot of grief about circulation. And this plan, has a better circulation plan. It's kind of the nature of this property has been, that's not a really well-defined traffic circulation. And I think, now we can formalize, particularly with these three buildings, how people get in and out from those buildings in a way that isn't dangerous. That's all I have, as long as, what I heard was the applicant agrees to accommodate my comments as well as Mr. Slaw's, and we'll work through those issues as resolution compliance.
Okay, thank you,
if
Mr. Reichel.
approved.
All right, thank you.
Then, because Annie went into this issue, I think it's appropriate for me to chime in right now, but we spent years on this plan over the years. This is a very vibrant area, and we were really looking forward to all the additional growth that was going to happen on the site. It's very important. I particularly had spoken to the developers about more of a transit village concept, and when I saw this, they grabbed an opportunity when Houlihan's went to pull the hotel into the middle of the property, which now is basically a parking lot, and to bring it up into it. And they've always had a great plan for boulevards and pathways and walkways. They're working very hard on the walkway over to Moppe, and so this is really an excellent step. And they took an opportunity, and it really helps us take that plan, which might take 20 years to get fully realized under the old plan, and really move it forward, that, you know, in a year or two, we will finally have a hotel on, you know, in that 440 corridor, which I believe is along with the ferry and the other walkways that are being built out there, all of the money that's coming from DOT and the various agencies. This really takes us, I think it takes us and moves us into a really vibrant community, and I'm very excited about it.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Mack. Appreciate that. I do believe I saw someone in the audience that wished to come up. Do I have a member of the public that wishes to come up? So, you can. You do have to come forward to ask your question. Gonna have to make you get a few steps in there, just so we can get you at the microphone. And we're just gonna, for the record.
Well, good evening. Good evening to the board. Sean Gupta. I had a question. Where exactly on the site plan would be the Hula Hands location or former Hula Hands?
Do you have that pointer?
Why don't we have the engineer take your microphone, right, Ms. Weiner?
Yep.
There we go. Building C, is that?
Thank you, Andy.
Building C, yes.
Yes, Building C.
Thank you once again.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other members of the public that have a question regarding this witness? Okay, none?
Thank you.
So much. You're welcome. Ms. Weiner, you can proceed with your second witness.
Thanks so much. Our next witness is Vincent Marchetto from MHS Architecture.
Okay.
Let her swear you in, and then we'll get you qualified.
I do.
Great.
My name is Vincent Marchetto, last name spelled M-A-R-C-H-E-T-T-O.
Okay, good evening, Mr. Marchetto. Just get your qualifications.
Yes, I'm a licensed architect in New Jersey. I've testified in front of Hoboken, Jersey City, Newark planning boards before. I have licenses also in Florida, and I have a master's degree, and I'm also a professor of architecture at NJIT.
All right.
Is your license current?
It is current.
I would hope so if they're letting him teach.
Yeah.
Okay, we accept you as an expert witness, and welcome to Bayonne. Now you get to add it to your list when you go to your other municipalities.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Go ahead, why don't you tell us about the building?
Okay, great. So the South Cove development, really, as it was said by Annie Reichel, the real concept was how can we take the parts that were already on the chessboard and rearrange them so that it made much more sense for the development. And what we wanted to do was take the area, the northeast corner of the site, where it's farthest away from access to the site and from the visibility from the road, and it's the quietest area that's not disturbed by traffic for all the shoppers. That's where we wanted to place all of the residential. So it could benefit from views of the city, views of the golf course, and it wouldn't impact the circulation on site. And we wanted to then take the hotel and shift it to the middle of the site where it'd have better visibility from the street and 440, and also could become the sort of heart and active area of this whole development. And so that's what we've done, and I think letting the residential just be residential with the lobbies and the move-ins and all that the dance of life that happens with residential buildings, that this is going to be a much more functional and efficient design for the similar size pieces. So we can now open exhibit A14, and we could go through the architectural plans. So here you're looking at our cover sheet, and on this you can see some of the visual designs and looks, renders of the building. The smaller building is the hotel building, the centerpiece building, and that's going to be an 8-story building. It's the ground floor, has retail lobbies, and then you have a banquet hall on the second floor, and above it is the hotel. And then the residential building is going to be 300 feet, 29 stories, and it's going to have a retail on the ground floor, and then parking with some residential, and then residential all the way up. And the way the architecture works on these buildings is that we're trying to create a base that has these kind of ceremonial V columns that look like they're uplifting the building and create some architectural consistency throughout the development and the site. This, I think, will create some dramatic moments, especially some on these outdoor decks that face New York City and look out on the water. And one thing to note while we're here is that what we're trying to do is not only simplify the pieces, but the circulation. You're now, instead of coming into the site and making a left and a right to get to the residential building, you'll come in on a nice wide promenade. You'll arrive at the hotel where they'll have a nice turnaround zone. And when you look right directly, which is that top left rendering, you would see down to the residential buildings. So it'll be much more easier from a wayfinding perspective, circulation perspective for residential tenants and shoppers to navigate the site and get to where they need to go and see the destination. So with that, we can just flip to the next page, and we'll talk about the ground floor of the residential buildings. Perfect. Okay. So here, we'll go through the plans of both buildings, and we'll talk about the elevations, but first we'll start with the residential towers. So this is that northwest corner of the site. To the right, you're looking at the golf course. Up the page, you're looking at South Cove and towards New York City. The big thing, what we tried to do is the buildings used to be on top of the parking garage. Now they sit adjacent to the parking garage, so you don't have a structural transfer between those, and the garage and the buildings become more efficient. And to do that, we have circulation that's coming under the garage, and it allows for a WB67 to turn and circulate through this area. So all the loading for the sites, the retail shops could still be facilitated without any impact by this development. We've located all the EV parking spaces for the building on this lower level so that also the clearance and the access for a fire truck could come into this garage and take care of anything that related to EV cars and fires. The move-ins, trash removal, and all that would also be taken care of inside this garage. That wouldn't be visible from the development. And then the visible portions of this building would be retail frontage and lobbies. And then at the end, there'd be a little plaza turnaround node that just creates a nice place for these two buildings to front on, and also that's connected to the waterfront walkway. And it really just fits really neatly in this corner of the site. The garage will be accessed from that building B off of that turning radius. It'll go up through a speed ramp, and then we'll have a few more floors. So maybe we could just shift down to the next page. Perfect. Okay, so these are the levels. I believe it's the second to the sixth floor. So we're going to have 5 levels of parking garage facilitated by a speed ramp. Most of these are it's going to be 508 parking spaces in the garage. There's going to be 398 regular parking spaces, 15 tandems. There's 75 EV spaces and 20 compact spaces. So most of the spaces in the garage are going to be self-park, regular spaces, no stackers, very easy to navigate. And then from these levels, you could then access the building cores and get to whatever floor you need to go to. The areas that face the water and also face out on the rest of South Cove would be lined with residential units, so you're not looking at a parking garage. However, the garage has enough frontage that it could be a naturally vented garage. We'll have some nice screening on that as well. So we could move up to the next level. Okay, so this is the level where the garage stops and the towers move up. And you could see here, this level on top of the garage would be a big open deck. It's about 55,000 square feet that looks out over the golf course and has some views of the city and the river. So we want to make this level of the building would be amenities, lounge, fitness rooms, and then access to the outdoor deck and a pool. And so you could see the configuration of the towers. They used to block each other's view, and you would be looking into each other's units. Now they've been shifted apart from each other, so there's no obstruction of the views, and you have greater privacy and better views of the city and the water. And we could just shift up to the next. And then this is the typical residential floor plan. This is the 7th going up to the 29th floor, and you have 2 point towers that are a little bit more slender. Instead of the long bars, which have greater shadow impact, this will also have some light and air coming between them, and again, facilitating better views for everyone. And that's, and if we want to go, I think we have a roof plan. There's no roof. We don't have any, we imagine the roofs of these buildings would be purely mechanical. There's going to be no decks or anything, just on the 6th floor would be amenity space. So with that, that's the floor plans for the residential buildings A and B, and we can keep continuing on, and we'll go to the floor plans for building C of the hotel.
Do you want to talk about the unit mix while you're on the
Oh, yeah,
residential?
that's great. So I'll go through that. We have a total of 696 units. There are 223 studios. That's 32% studios. There's 118 one-bedrooms, 17% one-bedrooms. There's 230 one-bedroom dens, so 33% one-bedroom dens. So in total, that's about 50% one-bedrooms if you combine those two. And then there's 125 two-bedrooms in the building, so that's 18% two-bedrooms. Building's 300 feet tall, meets the height limit, 29 stories. And really the differentiate in stories is the building previously was a hotel and banquet hall underneath the residential, and the banquet hall had much higher ceilings than a residential building does. And so now, in the same height, we could have more stories. And that was the differential between the two buildings. So I guess we can move to building C, and we'll just scroll down. Okay. All right, so building C is a non-residential. It's a commercial building with a hotel on top. You can see it on the top left portion of the building, there's a little notch, and that's a drop-off zone, a circulation area, and that's going to be sort of when you drive in, you'll have that node that that connects you or brings you to this area, and then to the right, as you look down to the right, you'd be able to see the residential buildings. But that plaza in the top left creates a point of access for all the different uses. There's the Tommy's Tavern layout that we have going in there. That's what it's based off. I can't promise that's going to be the final tenant, but that's sort of how we modeled the space out. Has access off the plaza. The hotel lobby has access off the plaza, and the banquet hall lobby has access off the plaza. So that could be an area where you have valet parking, and you have some space to circulate around. Beyond that, the services for this building are located fronting to the east. We have a loading zone along the building, so that you could move things into the loading elevator, and which wouldn't disrupt the drop-off area. And then we also have retail commercial spaces on this level. Let me just get that number. We have 9,520 square feet of retail space that would also be able to access around the exterior of the bottom of the building. So with that, there's also the tavern area would have a small outdoor plaza that's up against the water along the waterfront walkway. So we'll move up to the second floor plan. This floor plan is the banquet hall floor plan. Let's see. The banquet hall, I believe, we would be an occupancy of around 300 people. There would be, there's an outdoor deck that's on the north as well. That faces out to New York City. So it would benefit from that outdoor space. There's 3 separate banquet rooms and as well as restroom facilities and back of house kitchen areas as well. And this space would have a height, like a 24-foot floor-to-floor height, so that you could facilitate these type of uses. Let's move on to the next floor. So this is the floor where you start to get into the hotel. This part of the hotel is where you would have fitness rooms, conference rooms, some linen storages, and other sort of back of house uses could be handled on this floor, as well as they have access to some outdoor deck areas that are above the banquet hall. And then above this, if we go to the next floor plan, is where your standard hotel room floor plan would start, and you'd have 5 floors of hotel room, which would equal 125 hotel rooms. And so that's the plans, and I think we just have some quick elevations. We could continue, let's just,
I just have one quick question for
Yep.
you. I'm sorry if you said this and I missed it. The access to the hotel rooms are going to be through the same elevators as the banquet or
No.
separate access?
no, the 2 elevators that you see on this plan are the 2 elevators that go into the hotel lobby and are only used for the hotel. The banquet hall has its own lobby and its own elevators and stair, so they're separated. And if we go one more floor plan, we have a roof deck above the hotel. There'd be a little vestibule for the elevator, and you'd have a little roof deck. Maybe you have an outdoor bar that has views of the city. And keep scrolling. This is just the building section of buildings A and B. You can see it's got a 300-foot overall height, and there's the parking garage, which is underneath it, and then you have residential above. Let's continue. And this is the hotel. You could see how you have the 5 levels of hotel above the banquet hall, and the lower level is the retail, and the banquet hall has the higher floor-to-floor height to accommodate that use. Continue. And elevations. The idea is that the base of this building, the 6 stories of the bottom where the parking garage is, will have brick. It'll have precast columns, precast concrete columns. The top of the towers will be curtain wall glass towers, and they'll have P-tacks with some metal grill louver bands to help disguise exactly where all the P-tacks are, and it'll look like a uniform composition. And with that, that's really my testimony, and happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, any questions regarding the testimony?
Yes, I do.
Sure, Commissioner Veloz.
I'm very concerned with the parking spaces. If we figure out here, you got 696 residential units plus 125 rooms in the hotel.
Yes.
Do the hotel will be, the people who attend the hotel will have access to the parking, or the hotel have your own parking spaces?
So we're going to have our traffic engineer testify, and he's going to go over all of the parking. If you have a quick answer to that, you're welcome to give it, but I think
it would be
that's
better if the
better.
parking consultant.
So how many banquet you will have in the whole facility, in the whole project? 2?
How many banquet halls? There's 3.
3?
A total of 300 people could attend the banquet
Each
facility.
one?
No,
No.
in total.
In total, 300. Because might be the case that one time, all banquet facility will be occupied. Imagine the amount of parking that will be required to accommodate hotel, residentials, everybody there.
So
Right.
I would say that the site already has a lot of parking, and we've considered the amount of parking that exists on the site, also considered the fact that the hula hands and those existing uses are no longer there. And the parking consultant will run through the calculation to show that we meet the parking requirements on the site for all of these uses.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other commissioners? Okay, sure. Commissioner Locke?
Hi, just real quick, I think some of this you already said, but I kind of just wanted to re-say so I could have it clearly, but
No problem.
a lot of the times I'm seeing for building A and building, I think B, they're consolidated in units. How many units alone in building A and then in building B?
It's a good question. I don't have that prepared off the top of my head on my notes, but I can tell you in total that there's 696 in both. It would be about 300, they're about equal in size, 12 units per floor. So it's about half and half. There's similar number of units. I would say around 350 in each.
Okay, and then all 3 buildings are roughly how many stories?
The 2 buildings, residential A and B, are 29 stories, and then Building C is 8 stories.
Thank you.
Any other questions, commissioners? All right, Mr. Sloan, I see your hand is raised.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there a flag for the hotel at this point?
Yeah, we have, it's the Hilton Tapestry. The client is a franchisee of this brand.
In terms of the banquet hall, is it intended that food preparation would take place in the hotel for the banquet hall, or is the intention food will be brought in for the banquet hall?
There's a kitchen provided in the banquet hall of an adequate size that food could be prepared in the space.
Would that also serve as food preparation for restaurant functions for guests?
No.
Okay, thank you. One of the questions I have is, how does the development relate to the proposed pedestrian bridge across the harbor?
So the residential towers are located in the area that is closest to the point where that pedestrian bridge will connect across South Cove to, which would allow you to walk to the ferry station. So I think that helps allow any potential commuters from that development access the ferry for the morning commute.
The landing of that's not, I know that the city's in the process of looking at the design parameters of that. But your plan at this point doesn't accommodate that per se on this plan.
So the building is held back from the waterfront development line, and that, and then the waterfront walkway is in front of that. So I imagine the bridge would connect into the waterfront walkway and not impede into our development site.
So you're confident that you've got sufficient room to accommodate the bridge abutments and so forth for the design of that?
We do.
Okay. It would be kind of a pain if they were conflicting, wouldn't it?
Yes.
All right. Just thinking ahead, that's all. All right. I think that's what I have for you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Sloan. Mr. Reichel or Ms. Mack?
I'm pedestrian bridge is just my thing. I just wanted to comment for the council and for the planning board. I believe tomorrow night there's an introduction of the by the city to hire the firm NV5, who is hired really by DOT. It's a DOT federal grant. They've picked the consultant in consultation with Mr. Reichel, and if NV5 is on this agenda, there will be probably a kickoff meeting within the next month, and the developer has been totally responsible in making himself available for the city's team and the federal team to work with South Cove. So things like exactly where it's going to land, I think Mr. Reichel knows that answer to that question, but that will be worked out with this very exciting grant that we were able to get. But when we say pedestrian bridge, I always think of the pedestrian bridge over 440. This is a walkway that will connect South Cove to Moppy and to the ferry terminal. So a lot of good things happening, Mr. Reichel.
Thank you for that. That does sound really good. I do hope that piece comes to fruition. Mr. Reichel?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Just for the record, same sort of comment to the site civil engineers that, does the applicant agree to accommodate the planner and engineers' comments, so we don't need to go through them line by line?
We do.
Great. And I think principally those comments from my perspective relate to just more detail on the garage. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any members of the public that have a question for Mr. Marchetto? Okay, seeing none, thank you. I just want to check to see before we move on if our stenographer do need a break. Okay, we're going to take a brief couple-minute break just to give her a break. Of course. Those fingers stop for a minute. Okay, we will call the meeting back to order. Can we have a roll call, please?
Chairperson Fiamonte.
I am here.
Commissioner Veloz.
He may not be here.
He's here.
Commissioner Veloz, are you here?
Yep.
Commissioner Booker.
Here.
Commissioner Locke. Commissioner Rhodes.
Here.
Commissioner Scheibel.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, we are ready to proceed with your next witness.
Thank you. So
You're
our next
welcome.
witness is Matthew Seckler. He's our traffic engineer from Stonefield Engineering.
Yes, I do. Certainly, my name is Matthew Seckler. That's Seckler. I'm with Stonefield Engineering Design. Address is 92 Park Avenue in Rutherford, New Jersey.
Okay, good evening.
Can you tell us quickly about your educational background and current licenses?
Yes, a Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering and a Master's in City and Regional Planning. I am a licensed professional engineer in the state, recognized professional traffic operations engineer by the Institute of Transportation Engineers, been accepted for this board previously as well as over 200 other boards in the state of New Jersey.
We welcome Mr. Seckler back.
Great. Tell us about parking.
Certainly. And again, my testimony is going to be based on the traffic impact study dated October 14, 2025. This is, I think, the third traffic study we've done for this development, starting with the GDP, the previously approved site plan. We basically updated our study with new counts performed in September of this 2025. We counted during a weekday, your morning and evening rush hours, and Saturday when the shopping center and the retail is humming at its peak. So we've updated our traffic study with all that information. Just want to highlight the fact globally from a traffic and trip generation perspective, this site is ideal for what we call internally captured trips, meaning that people that, let's say, live here in these residential buildings, they want to go to the gym. They got Alpha Fit Club. They don't have to go onto the street. They can go food shopping, Stop and Shop. Coffee, you got Starbucks in the Stop and Shop and Dunkin' Donuts. Plenty of places to eat around, inside the complex. So when you think about what normally would be people driving from their house out onto the roads, back to their house, that doesn't have to happen here. People could walk just like they could walk to the light rail or the future ferry terminal when it's built and the connections made there. So when you think about these buildings and these people that be living here or staying in the hotel, there's a lot of traffic that actually does not have to be generated off the site while you still have that really successful commercial area. So again, from a traffic perspective, this is ideal in terms of transit-oriented development and kind of mixed use. Kind of brings your historic or classic Bayonne neighborhoods where you want to live and work and shop near your place. You could do that here on this site upon, should the board find this project approvable. From a parking perspective, because I know there's some questions about parking, we did a parking count at the site also in September from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. on a weekday and from 12 to 7 on a Saturday. So we basically counted a whole Saturday when you see the shopping center at its busiest. There was only 474 cars parked at the busiest time, and the shopping center has over 1,000 parking spaces today. So again, the parking lot generally is a little less than half full. So again, we are going to be changing the way the parking fields kind of work here. We're adding some more uses, but the site even today, I would say, is overparked significantly compared to what the demands are for the site today. In addition, the site also experiences or will experience shared parking characteristics. Typically, banquet hall and hotel guests, they park at night. Residential people typically park at night. The rest of the shopping center, a lot of activity during the day, so you kind of have that shared parking principle where parking spaces for one use during the day, the Stop and Shop parking spaces empty out and can be used for hotel guests or banquet hall users. Also, as in most case, if there is a large banquet, you typically would see valet parking provided, so you could even squeeze more parking spaces on site or be able to park these people in the far ends of the parking lot instead of in the areas that are being most heavily used if there is an event going on. I will say we also have counted Hudson House, which is a banquet hall in Jersey City. It's a couple of kind of piers over off of Caven Point Road if you kind of go closer to the water. What we found there is that because every car is valeted at that site, when they have an event, it's about 6 seats for every one car in terms of because people use Uber, some people may be staying in the area, and then some people obviously do drive. So if you have a 300-seat banquet hall, That's only 50 cars at its maximum peak period. So again, that's really a drop in the bucket when you consider the site currently has over 500 empty parking spaces today. Just running through the numbers really quickly. The proposed development, when you consider the uses we're adding and what we're taking away, meaning we're taking away the Houlihan's parking demand. There's a retail portion of the building that's being removed, and we're adding the residential, the hotel, the banquet hall. This development would be required to have 512 parking spaces on its own, and that accounts for the shared parking credit that the redevelopment plan allows, and the electric vehicle parking credit that is also permitted under the state statute. So 512 parking spaces are required based on our proposed development. Previously, the site was approved with a parking requirement of 807 spaces. So in total, the development requires 1,319 parking spaces, and we're providing 1,427. So we do have a little bit more than 100 extra parking spaces over what is required by the plan. When you take into account how the site currently operates, clearly there's sufficient parking today, and we will continue to have sufficient parking in the future. So from a traffic and parking perspective, obviously I'm here to answer any questions you may have, but we've updated our traffic study. This is ideal in terms of helping reduce the amount of traffic on roadways when you're kind of mixing these uses together. Similarly, parking can be made efficient because we could use shared parking principles, and we have sufficient parking even utilizing your ordinance requirements.
Okay, and then did you have an opportunity to take a look at the reports prepared by Mr. Slaw and Mr. Reichel?
Yes, and we have no issue complying with anything related to my discipline. And I would say that I also have reviewed the truck turning exhibits, and I believe in my capability as a traffic engineer, I have no issues with how the site would be circulated by emergency vehicles.
Great, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I just have a question, and this may be more of a city thing than a traffic engineer, but going into the site currently, we have a few different entrances, and those entrances, it's kind of haphazard when you're driving down there, right? Is it a 2-lane road? Is it a 1-lane road? You know, my son is a new driver, almost got clipped by someone who felt it was truly a 2-lane road and they wanted to fly by him as turning left. So will any of, was any consideration given to these entrance points, the striping of the street, going down there? I know we're talking, how does it impact that turn signal going on to 440? Just curious about the outside of the property coming in and coming out to minimize any accidents or things of that nature.
Certainly. So I can't speak to anything, I would say, in the city right away as it relates to Lafante Way, but I will say in terms of the accesses into the site, there is an intention to create more of a grand entrance so you kind of know, if you're a resident, which driveway you should be using, a hotel guest, which driveway you should be using, and those are going to become more of a focal point and an entrance point, so you're not kind of like driving slowly being like, should I make the left in this aisle or should I keep going? So that will be better designed, better illustrated, but I can't speak to the actual striping on Lafante Way as part of the project.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, because I think, a consideration is you have a hotel, you have people who are not familiar with the area, so there is a need for that because you're going to get local people going to the stores, and then you're going to get visitors who are slowly creeping up and who's trying to fly around them. So is the signage is signage coming back to us at some point then, I'm guessing? Or is that something that's included in this plan? Because I didn't hear anything about signage, so I'm just curious.
I believe there's wayfinding signs in this package, but what the applicant had just told me is that if you wanted to make a condition of approval, that they would work with the city with any resolution compliance, anything, and coordinate the entrances if there's anything they can do as far as striping or anything to work with the city to make it clear and make it safer.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, because going through, we've gone through the Costco development, right? We saw that. Now we've made some improvements. There's still work, I'm sure, to be done. However, if anything we can get ahead of, would definitely, because it's becoming a more actively used location, and it is, in a sense, it's a development that doesn't really possess that super grand entrance right now. So anything that can be done to work with our officials to make it clear, this is where you go in for the hotel, here's where you really should go in if you want to use, the supermarket only, things like that.
Yeah, Madam Chair, what council has indicated is that the
condition.
applicant is willing to accept a condition to that effect. So at the end,
Perfect.
when we get to the vote, make that part of the approval process.
Will do. Thank you. And thank you for that. Any other commissioners have questions?
Yes, quick question, is, you're familiar with the entrances? There's only two of them. Okay, just to piggyback off of the entrance and the exit. Now, those are very tight spaces. My only one question is there going to be any consideration or alteration to those entrance and exits? Because they're very tight.
Yeah, so again, I do believe interior to the site, we're looking at actually making some of the spine roads, the roads that, let's say, would lead interior to the hotel or the residential, we're looking actually to make those a little more pedestrian friendly, a little more wider sidewalks, green areas. But as we kind of get closer to Lafante Way and the public roadway, we're going to make sure those continue to flare out so they, still could accommodate vehicles turning in and out at, proper speeds. But again, I think, as was mentioned by the chair, a lot of it is also, you can't really see the site as you're driving. You're almost seeing the back of buildings. Again, I think the wayfinding signage is going to go a long way to kind of improving the ability for people to feel confident where they're turning, as opposed to not knowing if they're turning behind a building into a loading area and kind of find their way. So I think that visual improvement and that wayfinding signage is going to go a long way there.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, commissioners? Commissioner Locke?
Yes, hi. I have like two questions, but the first one's kind of like a two-parter. I think you said there was a study that was done, I think like amended parking study that showed, I think it was, what did you say, 470 plus cars was like at the peak or something.
474.
Yeah, 474. I just wanted to know, what was the date of that study?
So we did parking counts in September, and I'll get you the exact date. It was Saturday, September 27th. We did counts from 12 p.m. to 7 p.m., so we counted basically the whole day. We were at the shopping center seeing how many cars were parked, and the maximum that we saw was at 2:30, and there was 474 parked cars in the parking lots.
Was that the only date that was?
That was the date that we did the parking counts. And again, obviously it could fluctuate, during holiday time, it might get up to 500, 510. But again, the site today has over 1,000 parking spaces. I believe it has, I have it in my notes here, like 1,042. So again, it's still pretty, about 50% occupied, I would say, even if you were there during a holiday season, not just on the September that we did the count.
Okay, solid. And then my second question, that's the part that I'm trying to kind of like understand. So currently, right now, you said the parking has how much? 14 something or 1,000?
Right now, there's 1,042.
1,042. And then, so the 1,000, like 1,400 plus is what's going like to be with the existing uses and what's going to be proposed. That's the new parking, right?
Correct. We're adding the parking garage, so that's going to increase, that helps increase the number from 1,042 to 1,427. There's also some parking space that'll be lost with the kind of construction of the hotel. That footprint's a little larger than the Houlihan's footprint. So there's some surface spaces that are going to be lost, but we're adding the residential parking garage. So that's how we go from 1,042 to 1,427.
Perfect. And so do you guys have, in one of the studies, like the split? So for example, currently that 1,000 is relative to what's existing there. And I assume that was sufficient at the time. And then the new proposed projects have their respective parking requirements as well. And so what would be, I guess, the split? So the parking for what's currently there and then the parking for what's going to be there.
Right. So what we're required to park for this part of the development is 512 spaces. Okay. That's what we need to bring. That's what we have for the new uses on site, minus the uses that are being eliminated, the Houlihan's, things like that. So we're required to have 512 spaces.
Right.
While we have 1,042, not only we're not using that amount, we actually are required to have 807. We built more parking spaces than were required. So basically, 807 is what the previous requirement was. We are adding 512. That gets us to the requirement of 1,319.
Right.
That's what's required after we're done.
Right.
And 1,427 is what we're going to have after we're done.
Okay, thank you.
So a lot of numbers. I know I'm throwing it out there, but it seems like you were following them.
Thank you for that. Any other commissioners have questions? Okay, we'll go down. Mr. Slaw?
No questions.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Reichel?
I have a few.
Okay.
Just first, I'm going to go off topic, and this is more for Mr. Campusano. I had a comment in my letter regarding the entity. So we've been sort of hopscotching some entities. We're amending an application issued to an applicant that's not the current applicant. Right, so we need to, just for the record, we need to straighten that sort of chain of entities out so that we're getting that straight.
We'll clean that up
Wanted to
before any resolution.
The second one I had is also stepping back a little. On the subdivision, we will need to have a cross-access parking agreement so that, because you're relying on, per your testimony, like, I'm going to use surface parking that's on a different lot that ultimately could be owned by a different entity. So we're going to need to have rights of access for parking between the different lots. All right, the next one, just for clarification, is that I think the testimony was clear, right, that they're going to satisfy the redevelopment plan. But to be clear, that satisfaction relies on a 35% discount for shared parking. And that discount is at the discretion of the board. It doesn't have to be granted. The traffic report justifies that shared parking discount, and I agree with the justification. But I have in my proposed conditions of approval is that upon the second request for a zoning application, so not this first one for the hotel because we have the current conditions, but after the hotel, that we have another analysis that proves out that those conditions still exist, right? And those conditions are essentially that at night, when the retail use is light, as the expert described, then your other uses pick up. So that exists now. I'm comfortable with that analysis, but prior to the residential towers go up, we're just requiring that we have a look at it, because that could be, 5 years from now.
So simply just between the city professionals, correct? Or back at this board, are you recommending?
No, that's a professional review.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Just want to make sure we're clear. Thank you.
When they go to pull the permits at the next stage of the
Stage.
process, they will have to justify that it's permitted
Okay.
based upon the analysis of the parking.
Okay, but we'll add that
That,
as a condition?
That was,
Okay.
That'll live in the resolution of approval, and then whoever the city officials at that time
Okay, perfect.
will
Thank
know
you.
about it.
Sounds
Okay.
good. Thank you.
The next one is the redevelopment plan does address LaFonte Way in that if traffic analysis warrants a signal at one of or two of the intersections to LaFonte Way, one is required, and that there would be a fair share agreement worked out, and there would be a signal built. Again, the traffic analysis, and I'm comfortable with it, says at this point for the first phase, you don't need a traffic signal analysis. Again, we would require at the second phase of the development that we have another warrant analysis to determine if that's still the condition that exists at the time.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that makes sense, especially coming into the property, I would think, because that's just a yield, that's a stop sign right now.
Right now, it's
Yeah, it's just stop
it's
sign.
controlled, but it's not signalized.
Yeah, okay.
And which may be fine. Right now, I think it is fine. The analysis says it's fine. I believe that. But let's revisit it. If we're building towers 5 years from now, let's just make sure it's still the condition.
Okay.
And these are not new conditions, by the way. This was in the original approval, this sort of truing up the analysis at the time of applying for zoning permits was already in the resolution compliance.
So basically, what you're suggesting is that we continue the conditions from the original approval, being that nothing has been built so far, there was no need for the trigger to happen.
Right, and to that point, I do have a comment in my letter that says any conditions of the original approval that weren't satisfied to date remain outstanding. That is, that's it, yeah, that's all.
And if we approve this, we would add your engineering report to the resolution of approval, thereby making sure that they continue, this is a continuing obligation.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Mack?
We've all been with this plan for so long, but when we wrote the redevelopment plan, we were very clear that we had to maintain the previous requirements, which were in the 1998 original agreement. So this agreement has been going on for many years. We updated it where we could, and that's how come you still have the parking and stuff. We stayed at those counts. So it's actually appended to the plan. First plan I've ever appended another plan to a plan. So this is keeping in the spirit of what Mr. Reichel is saying, but some of this goes on for so long, people will forget if we don't bring it forward. But they have said many times that they would, they would deal with traffic conditions as they went on, and just, we're not ready to have any improvements made right now. When this actually comes to fruition at the next phase, we're just asking that they relook at it at that time.
All right, perfect, thank you.
I have one more thing, and I just want to put this, the building C, which is Houlihan's.
Yeah.
In the redevelopment plan, we referred to the Sydney ordinance for the requirements for loading zones. It's a kind of catch-all ordinance, and it's inappropriate for that building because it would have required like 5 loading zones. So a design waiver is required for that element. I'm recommending that a design waiver for the loading zones for building C be granted.
Okay, thank you. Yep, because you wouldn't have as many, it would really be just the banquet hall and restaurant area, right? I mean, you wouldn't have as much.
It's all commercial, like
Yeah.
no like move-in stuff.
Yeah, you're
hotel
not
rooms.
having tenants coming in or things
Right.
like that. Okay, perfect, thank you.
Madam Chair, I have another question.
Sure.
Since we are in the traffic, parking, and loading zone, as mentioned, do you have a specific area for perhaps Amazon, UPS to delivery? And you're going to have a distribution center, or you're going to have mailboxes for the customer or for the tenants to distribute the packages?
So there is a package room in the residential buildings, and there are areas that Amazon will be able to park, not just leaving their car in an aisle, and deliver. So they would be, you would see that on the
So
architecture.
we will not interfere with the traffic?
Correct.
With the flow? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank
I
you.
recall that plan. There's a road underneath the garage that the Amazon can come in, drop off the packages internal to the building, not out in front of the building.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we are up to questions from the public. Anyone in the public have a question regarding the traffic engineer's testimony? Okay, seeing none. Thank you. And now, I believe
right.
your fourth witness,
Yeah,
Mr. McDonough?
Last and final. Yep.
Okay, we recognize him.
Yes, I do.
Okay, do you need him to qualify himself?
As long as everything's still current from probably last month, we will
Status quo, Madam Chair, yes.
we will accept you as an expert witness.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Tell us about the planning.
This is thank you, Madam Chair. This is a very clean application from a zoning standpoint. This, as Mr. Reichel said, is really a rearranging of the furniture, if you will, taking an approved plan, a good plan, and making it even better, with an accent here of absolutely beautiful buildings on the waterfront that are going to create a powerful, positive image and identity towards the city as a progressive city. And we think a real nice focal point that will put an accent on what is really a gem of the community. And we have an applicant here, as we know, that has taken a challenge site that has very limited frontage on Route 440. You just heard an application about limited frontage, and a regular shape, a triangular shape, and turn it into a thriving and surviving shopping center. This is going to take that center and enhance that community asset, which is referenced in your city master plan over and over again as a master plan, and make it better. In terms of the plan that we're in here, we're in the Riverfront at South Cove redevelopment plan, that 2018 amendment. These amendments here make the project in substantial conformance with the higher tiers of zoning in that redevelopment plan. The use remains conforming, the overall tract area remains conforming, and in fact, you have language in your redevelopment plan that talks about recognizing that there will be multiple lots here, and the tract may be subdivided into multiple lots, where one may access a public street through another lot. So to the extent that Section 35, 36 relief is needed here, you do have language in the master plan that establishes a policy statement in that regard, authorizing that type of relief. We've got conformance with setbacks on all sides. The height still conforms. 300 feet was what was allowed and approved under the prior plan. We've got that now. The only change is that those towers are changing the building type from a combination of hotel and residential, which would tend to have a higher floor-to-ceiling ratio than a pure residential or residential and retail building, where we've got the lower floor-to-ceiling heights, so you can get more stories there. That's the relief the applicant is seeking. But importantly, the overall mass and scale of the building, particularly the height at 300 feet, is going to remain. So the overall height is what mitigates that relief for the number of stories. And importantly, does not trigger any relief related to the overall floor area, related to the overall density, and as I just said, related to the overall height of the building. The building coverage complies, the lot coverage complies, and the parking complies. So again, you've got an application here that is very clean from a zoning standpoint and remains in substantial conformance with the redevelopment plan. Other than the story relief here, we have that technical relief, Section 35, 36, related to access on a non-public street or access to a public street through another lot. You've got that language in the redevelopment plan which supports that. You've also got a site that actively supports tractor trailers. Your anchor tenant here is a Stop and Shop, which takes those large vehicles, certainly larger than a fire truck, so proof positive that the site can safely accommodate emergency vehicles. With that said, we see that this application remains in substantial conformance with the redevelopment plan. The very minor relief that the applicant is seeking would be justified under the flexible C balancing test, where the benefits of the application as a whole substantially outweigh any detriments. On the positive side, you got the advancement of the general welfare, purpose A, with enhancements to an established and approved mixed-use center. Again, you've got the advancement of purpose I, the promotion of a desirable visual environment with those accent buildings on the waterfront, again, which will create that powerful positive statement of the city. And then finally, our planning goal for efficient use of land, taking what's there, this 20-acre, again, asset to the community, and making it even better. With that said, I think based on the predicate of all the testimony before you, you have a nice clean record here, a nice solid record, a nice thorough record, that this application remains consistent with good planning principles. It's going to advance your city master plan, which recognizes this particular site as a special development site within the community, and most importantly, satisfies the statutory criteria for relief. Therefore, approval is warranted. End of testimony.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. McDonough. Commissioners, any questions for Mr. McDonough? Okay. Mr. Slaw?
No comments.
Okay. Mr.
None.
Reichel? Thank you. Ms. Mack? No. Okay. Thank you. Are there any members of the public that have a question for Mr. McDonough? Seeing none. Thank you, Mr. McDonough. At this time, I'll open it up. If there are any members of the public that wish to come forward and make a comment regarding this application, please do so now. Okay. Seeing none. Ms. Weiner, if you have any closing statements that you wish to share?
I have one more
Oh,
before we close.
Sure.
Have we determined that a variance is not required on the height?
The opinion that they gave us testimony justifying the variance, so I would do, if the board was inclined to approve this, I would include it with with the language that the variance was granted based upon the evidence provided.
Just to follow up on that, I also heard Mr. Reichel mention that they need a design waiver and that he would recommend it, therefore I would recommend it, but I don't know if they asked for one. I didn't see it I didn't see it in the request, so I would just maybe.
But it was in the planning report, so.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank Thank you.
Thanks.
Ms. Weiner,
Sure.
thank you.
I just wanted to say thank you to the board and its professionals for your time. You've heard from our experts, you've heard that the application meets the requirements and the testimony has been provided, and we respectfully request that you approve this application for subdivision and amended preliminary and final site plan approval with the associated C variance and design waiver for the loading zones for Building C.
Okay, thank you. I will say I'm excited about this application. You know, I kind of wondered what happened to it previously. You know, driving into that property, seeing, you know, the Houlihan's has since closed and some properties, you know, some tenants seem to be changing. You know, I think of it if I were coming into Bayonne, you know, for the first time, and I look at this place and I say, oh, wow, look at these great anchor stores, but what happened here? And, you know, I think just putting these new buildings, having a hotel, I mean, that is a game changer, I think, for people who are taking, you know, the cruise ship, for family members who've moved away and want to come back and visit and not stay in, you know, someone's basement for a week. I think it is, you know, it's definitely much needed. I heard that Tommy's Tap House, I'm hoping that was said for some reason, because that would be exciting. However, I do think it is a great plan. It's great for, you know, the residents that are here. It's great to bring some new residents in and make it a livable space for them and a walkable space. You know, clearly I'm in favor of it. If there are any other commissioners who wish to make a comment, feel free.
Okay.
And then we'll go.
Real quick, I just want to say, I keep saying real quick, I apologize. The fact of the matter is that I think this is an absolutely fantastic project. That is a vibrant area that is definitely moving. With the cruise ships coming in and with the ferry, I see nothing but a lot of activity going on down there, and I'm looking forward to this. I think it's exciting and a lot of events going on in that hotel, so I think it's definitely a good plan. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Someone else had.
Yes, yes.
Commissioner Veloz?
I do agree with Madam Chair and the Commissioner Booker. It's a fantastic project. And I would like to see, for many years, I've been wishing for a hotel in this area. And I will vote aye also. Thank you.
Yes. Now, if we could just get a shoe store, please. Yes, Commissioner Locke.
So, yeah, I agree with what all the other board members said. I think where this is placed and what's projected to be in that area with the, you know, pedestrian walkway that leads into the ferry that leads into the city, in theory, you know, would be very beneficial for the city of Bayonne if this was all to get done. And I think this is like the closest, at least to my knowledge at this time, this is like the closest thing that we have to like a transient village, which is very, very cool to have proposed. And, you know, we look forward to getting it done, hopefully.
Absolutely. Anyone else wish to make a statement? Okay, I think we are ready for a vote, but we do have some conditions, so I'm going to let Mr. Campesano put those on the record
I'm going
for
to do it.
us.
I'm going to take it the easy way, and I'm going to say the conditions that were
Discussed.
presented in our experts' reports, both planning and engineering, as well as spread across the record in this matter, would be the condition, and I'd incorporate it into a resolution.
Okay, and that would be what I am making a motion for, exactly what you just said.
Okay.
Do we have a
And we
second?
need a second.
Second.
And on the vote, please.
Chairperson Fiamonte.
Aye.
Commissioner Veloz.
Aye.
Commissioner Booker.
Aye.
Commissioner Locke.
Aye.
Commissioner Rhodes. Aye. Commissioner Scheibel.
Aye.
Application's been approved.
Best of luck. We look forward to it taking place. Thank you. Have a good evening. Okay, we have some.
We have some
adoptions,
resolutions, but before we get into the resolutions, there's a correction to be made on something that we gave an extension to. The extension on the Gamal Group should be July 1st, 2026, rather than May of 2027. Can I get a motion and a second to change the approval in that matter?
I'll move.
Second.
On the vote?
Chairperson Fiamonte.
Aye.
Commissioner Veloz.
Aye.
Commissioner Booker.
Aye.
Commissioner Locke. Commissioner Rhodes.
Aye.
Commissioner Scheibel.
Aye.
Next on the agenda are the resolutions that were approved. First being P25-035. That was the RDP for 1194 through 1205 JF Kennedy Boulevard. Block 32, lots 10, 11, 12, 13, 13.01, and 15. A motion and a second?
I'll move.
Second?
And on the vote?
Chairperson Fiamonte.
Aye.
Commissioner Veloz.
Aye.
Commissioner Booker.
Aye.
Commissioner Locke. Commissioner Rhodes. Commissioner Scheibel.
Aye.
Next is P-23-025. That's the RDP amendment for 1012-1022 Avenue C, Block 64, lots 2 and 3. Can I get a motion and a second to approve that?
I'll move.
Second.
And on the vote?
Chairperson Fiamonte.
Aye.
Commissioner Veloz.
Aye.
Commissioner Booker.
Aye.
Commissioner Locke. Commissioner Rhodes.
Aye.
Commissioner Scheibel.
Aye.
Next is P-25-017. That's the area in need for 104-108 West 7th Street, Block 314, Lot 4401. Can I get a motion and a second to approve that?
I'll move.
Second?
And on the vote?
Chairperson Fiamonte.
Aye.
Commissioner Veloz.
Aye.
Commissioner Booker.
Aye.
Commissioner Locke. Commissioner Rhodes.
Aye.
Commissioner Scheibel.
Aye.
Next is P-25-014, Block 452, Lot 452.02, Lot 5.01, LLC. The site is New Hook Road and East 22nd Street, Block 452, Lot .02, Lot 5.01. And that is the coffee place that we approved at the last meeting.
Yes.
That's the resolution.
I'll move. And on the vote?
Chairperson Fiamonte.
Aye.
Commissioner Veloz.
Aye.
Commissioner Booker.
Aye.
Commissioner Locke. Commissioner Rhodes.
Aye.
Commissioner Scheibel.
Aye.
I'm sorry, I misidentified that. That was, that was the interim use for a parking lot. I misidentified that one. We don't have to re-vote on that one. That was my mistake. P-25-032 G7B LLC, care Jason Tuval Esquire, Site 100 Bayonne Crossing Way, Block 45.03, Lot 1.01. Can I get a motion and a second to approve that? That's the coffee place.
I'll move. And on the vote?
Chairperson Fiamonte.
Aye.
Commissioner Veloz.
Aye.
Commissioner Booker.
Aye.
Commissioner Locke. Commissioner Rhodes.
Aye.
Commissioner Scheibel.
Aye.
Lastly, a motion to adjourn.
I'll move.
All in favor?
Aye. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.